right, ladies, gentlemen, MO, one of my largest holdings, Altria Group, just took a 5% hit on their earnings because they can't get that JUUL monkey off their back. I look so forward to breaking their earnings down for you, so let's jump right into this.
Drop it.
Welcome back, my passive income investors alike, to Altria earnings. Ladies, gentlemen, Altria has been taking a kicking into the ground on their recent earnings because they had a large loss on JUUL. But many of you know Altria is one of my largest holdings. I hold it between 3 of my investment accounts. The one you're looking at right now is my largest holdings in this company, equating to about $7,000. I was loading the boat on this thing last year, and we can see it's starting to come back down to those lows where I was purchasing it. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to break down the earnings. I'm going to break down the negative news for you, and then try and give you my personal opinion on it, the security of their dividend, what I think about all of this. So let's just get right into this, starting with this most recent quarter. I'm going to replay this. I already watched it, but take a listen here, guys. Let's hear this.
Altria Group is showing signs of buyer's remorse when it comes to the 35% stake it bought in e-cigarette company JUUL. Altria, the parent company of old-school cigarette brands like Marlboro, said Thursday that it will stop providing services, including logistics, distribution, and access to retail shelf space to JUUL. A string of vaping-related deaths, though none connected to JUUL, coupled with a growing number of government bans on e-cigarettes after a surge in teen vaping, has clouded what once was a very promising future for JUUL and a new smoking category that was supposed to offset the decline in traditional cigarettes. Altria is watching the value of its investment go up in smoke. On Thursday, Altria announced a $4 billion write-down on its JUUL investment in the fourth quarter, mainly due to the growing number of legal cases facing the e-vaping company. That brings Altria's total write-down to nearly $9 billion. It only paid $12.8 billion for the JUUL stake back in December 2018. With that in mind, Altria has now reworked the terms of the deal, taking a step back to only help JUUL with regulatory affairs, including the submission of products for FDA approval. But Altria isn't optimistic about the future. On Thursday's earnings conference call, the CEO said he expected to see a continued slowdown or outright decline in the e-vaping category, and said there was always the chance JUUL could get pulled off the market by federal law. JUUL's problems helped swing Altria from a fourth quarter profit to a loss of nearly $2 billion. Shares of Altria were down in Thursday trade.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you couldn't think there could be more negative news around this company, man, doesn't it just hit on every single point? First of all, when it comes to a company like this, you got to be really stable on reading between the lines, because this is not a company that can comfortably come out into earnings and be like, things are great, everyone's smoking, JUUL. Like, it doesn't sound good for the government. Now, the government already stated that it's not going to ban JUUL. It did ban some of the individual flavored products, but, you know, JUUL kind of helped them out with that. They're trying to, like, level the playing ground here, so the government kind of steps back. And I think we're going to see some interesting things in the future for JUUL, but I'm going to break that down for you when we get into their books. But taking a look at their specific earnings report here, guys, we can see that MO came out with quarterly earnings of $1.02 per share, beating the Zacks consensus estimate of $1.01 per share. This compares to earnings of 95 cents per share a year ago. So they're actually increasing on revenue, even though cigarettes are declining, which is really fascinating stuff. But I want to head right into their books here to show you guys something really interesting that I found. So first of all, taking a look at the net revenue here, we can see for the full year of 2019, we're sitting at about $25 billion, which is up 1%. So you're trying to think to yourself, well, if they're doing all these write-offs and write-downs, which is similar to real estate, where they're kind of, writing off, some of their investment assets in these companies, I think it's purposely to make themselves look a little bit better toward the government, because nobody wants to come out saying, oh, we're doing great, everyone's smoking, especially when kids are getting involved, right? But where the fascinating thing in their earnings is if I can scroll down here, I actually want to find it for you, because they did a complete report on smokeless products. If we look at Marlboro, you can see that there's declines, obviously, in the cigarette space. There continues to be a slowdown in smoking, not at a rapid pace, mind you, but enough that they actually lowered the future growth of their other cigarette brands in the future, which could be expected. But where the fascinating stuff comes in here is the smokeless product revenues. So smokeless products are obviously they're JUUL products here. I don't know why they just can't come out and say that. But the thing that fascinates me the most about this is look at the 2018 versus 2019. We're not seeing explosive growth, but we're talking about billions of dollars here, ladies and gentlemen. And from 2018 to 2019, we still saw $100 million increase on these smokable products. The bottom line here has been pretty impressive, not hugely impressive. I mean, we're not talking about, a massive growth. We're talking about a 4.6% change here. So nothing crazy over the year, but a 4.6% change is pretty nice considering if we go back to the cigarette drop, I was really hoping that they were going to catch up, with the dropping of their total smokable products, which we can see there's been a change of about 7.1%. So the goal here at some point, and you're probably wondering, well, how are they getting revenues up then? It's because they're raising the prices of these products is how they're generally, extending their revenue. So ideally what I would like to see going into the future here is an increase in their new products to the point where it's going to kind of outweigh the loss of their smokable products. And where they took an even bigger loss, which I'm surprised they're not talking about this, is the write-down they had on Kronos Group, because this was another massive investment, ladies and gentlemen, that has done nothing but go down. So the good thing about this, though, is not only are they getting the cash out of the bank, because MO is one of these companies that pretty much has to make themselves look like they're always, struggling, and they're just trying to get people that want to smoke their cigarettes without being too excited about it, because the government will be knocking on that door. So going back to their fundamentals here and taking a look at the dividend in and of itself, which is a payout ratio of 0.83 times. So they're paying out almost a good chunk, 80% of their income into dividends, which is what I like to see considering they increased the dividend, which is what Altria has been most famous for over, the last 20 years. This has been the constant increase of their dividends, which makes it attractive to dividend investors like myself. Now, I really like the way they've structured their payout, because what they like to do is keep as much cash off the books as possible, write off as much as possible, make it look like they're in trouble as much as possible, because it keeps the government off their back. And remember, the government isn't going to be banning these things. I can promise you that much. You're going to see JUUL floating around just as much as you're going to see other people vaping floating around. But with this dividend specifically, they leave enough room that for issues like this that they run into, they still have the capability of increasing it, okay? Because they're leaving about a 17% room, which is going to equate for any issues they run into in the decline of sales. And it's also going to leave room for them to keep itching it higher while they get things together over the next couple of years. We're not clear out of the water yet. I think we're going to see a good solid year or two of negativity in the news. But now that the e-acetate, thing with the illegal market, MJ sector kind of, vapes is finally kind of blowing over, I think we're going to start to hopefully, again, I'm not saying this year. I don't think Altria is going to have much movement this year, just based off what's going on. But toward the end of this year, I think if JUUL, even levels off where it is, and again, they step back because they've done the work. They've done the work, guys. JUULs are everywhere. They're in every convenience store, almost every gas station that they got licensed to. That's why they're saying that they're not going to allow any more distribution, because that would be promoting. And they had to pull the stickers off the boxes because they're not allowed to advertise them. But they've already got it locked in smokers' heads that kind of got addicted to these things. Again, I'm kind of a victim of this, mind you. I don't plan on doing this for very long. I don't do it very often now as it is. But nonetheless, I just find it really interesting to see how all this is kind of coming into fruition. I am still very bullish on this company, and I think we're sitting at bare bottom prices. Taking a look at the chart, considering analysts, there's a lot of bears on this company ever since this news came out. We can see a lot of negativity here, big volume on the red side, huge volume on the red side. That made a lot of institutional buyers probably step away from this company. But taking a look at the over 5-year chart, I do not think for a company that is still growing its revenues, we're looking at almost a 40% decline, 40-50% decline from the all-time high here, which makes me think that this company is at bottom basement prices for dividend investors like myself. I am not holding this company particularly for an increase in the asset value. It is nice to see that it's still up in my position, but over the long term, I just can't foresee this company going anywhere. It's been around forever. people are going to smoke. Sure, there's a decline in smokers, but it's just a break. It's like going out and having Starbucks. And if you want to talk about the morals of smoking, I mean, you could go look at how much, Coca-Cola probably causes diabetes to people that can't handle it. I know people that drank so much Coke, they had stomach bleed, and the doctor's just like, you guys are crazy. You can't be drinking a whole case of Coke every day. And I mean, it is considerably the equivalent in toxicity, again, because you get kids drinking pop to an excess. Like, I'm not trying to say there's anything good or bad about it. It's just, you kind of have to control your habits. And sure, people do get a little excessive with it. I'm not here to tell you what's morally right or wrong. I'm not telling you to invest in this company because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just here to tell you my own personal opinion. I'm not buying any more of it at these levels. In fact, I'm always reinvesting my dividends. As many of you know, I'm using these dividends to rebuild out my whole portfolio. So I mainly, in the short term, have been focusing on higher yielding stocks, which is why I loaded the boat on MO and BTI. And the other funny thing, if we're talking about the tobacco sector, between MO and BTI didn't get hit hard at all. If I scroll down here, we can see BTI is still holding up from its lows, actually. It's done very well, and that's because other countries aren't as regulated. And BTI has a lot of smokeless products. In fact, you can find them in all the same stores usually you can buy JUULs at, but nobody's really beating BTI into the ground. And why? Well, it's a European country, guys. They got way different regulations. They also have some of the best-selling vape products across other markets, considering MO is primarily focused in the US, which is why I bought BTI and MO, because then I get global exposure along with, primarily focusing on the US as well. And these are two incredible dividend paying stocks, and I will continue to probably hold them well into my future. So I'd love to know what you guys think about all of this in that comment section below. This has been a really technical breakdown. And remember, if you are holding this stock and you're getting scared of it, remember that these guys aren't dumb. They've been around the block. They've been through this 1,000 times. They go through it every single year. And the way they talk, they have to talk between the lines, because they can't just say this stuff outright without getting dinged by the government. So, I mean, they were just keeping the monkey off their back, which is a weird pun. So stay cool. Stay awesome, guys. I look forward to chatting to you real soon, which, by the way, I'm going to be breaking down my portfolio tomorrow, so consider slapping a like and subscribing to see what the heck's been going on, because, man, my portfolio is done better this month than it has in a long time. So I'll talk to you real soon.